Welcome. In this video, we move on to fight number 2 in our expedition mode of AEONS End, the New Age. So down at the table, the first thing we do is keeping on with our same breach mage here. So we've got him out there along with our breaches set up. As for our tokens, I'll show you, this is what I've got off to the side. So I picked this up, I think, at Michael's store, so I can keep my player tokens in here along with charge tokens, and these are just acrylic things you can get online. Sometimes you find them at your hobby stores. Use these for power. Got purple just for some random, and then the tracker health. Just got some small 6-sided dice and a 10 if needed. We have 10 health. Our starting hand is going to be our gift of spirit and 4 crystals. And we now have access to treasure level 1s that we picked up after the last battle. So we can bring these in. If we bring in a gem, we replace a gem in our deck. If we bring in a spell, we try to replace a spark. So we've got one, gain a money or ether, or any player gains a life. I'm all about some life gain. Gain an ether, cast any player's prep spell. That's probably not so good for solo. Deal 1 damage or focus any player's breach. Seems really good. Deal 1 damage, gain a money. Not too bad. And then deal a damage, any ally, which will be ourself in a solo, may discard a card in hand. If they do, deal 2 additional damage. That seems good also. So I'm leaning more towards this one so we can get our breaches open hopefully a little bit earlier. So we will replace our spark in our starting deck. Crystals on top. Our turn order deck is going to have 4 for us and 2 Nemesis cards. So we'll go ahead and get that randomized some. Then we're back to our expedition cards. So Battle 2 Introduction. I am no mere nameless. They bow to me now. Rhea goes rigid with shock. It can speak. The spider creature twists around towards you. His face is warped, but undeniably human. Why have you returned? I don't want to have to kill you. Let me finish my experiment in peace. The creature stands, his segmented legs snapping into place one by one. The portal behind him wavers, opening briefly to reveal a man within. Bound and gagged by spider webs, Commander Soskel. He struggles against the void energy seeping from the breach into his skin. Let him go, Rhea barks. Taking a step forward, the creature slams his foot down, blocking her path. You foolish mages. You scorn Zaxos for daring to evolve. We can use the power of the Nameless to become stronger. I can save Gravehold. He spreads his arms, then the people will worship their true saviors, my master Zaxos and his faithful student, the great Arachnos. So we're going to open envelope 2A, then deck 2A. Use the cards in the deck to set up the Nemesis deck according to page 10 of the rulebook. There are 7 upgraded basic cards in this deck that you will use when setting up every Nemesis for the rest of the expedition. Fighting Arachnos, at the end of your game, if we win, we'll read the front of 6. If we lose, fight again. After our second game, no matter what happens, we'll read the front of 6. So envelope 2A. They've got some card dividers in there to keep our games organized. Got some tokens, so Arachnos tokens and Nemesis tokens. And typical, good quality, and they punch out very easily. And then we have the Arachnos card, and his ritual is complete, Matt. So take a look at setup. Place the ritual track next to this mat. Place the Arachnos token on the start position. Place the World Devourer cards next to this mat in ascending order with the lowest tier on top. So soon we'll see that in 2A. So he's going to have 70 health. So quite a bit more than our previous fight. Unleash ability, move the Arachnos token 1 space forward on the ritual track. So on this track, it's going to start here Going to move across. We've got money symbols up on top. When the token moves forward to this space, Arachnos gains 1 Nemesis token. And then when it moves here, the ritual is complete. Flip this mat over. So the additional rolls, players may spend ether equal to the number shown on the ritual track for the current position of the Arachnos token to move it back 1 space on the track, so we can prevent the ritual from completing. When the token reaches the end of the ritual track, or Arachnos has more than 8 Nemesis tokens, the ritual is complete. When the players would win the game and World Devourer has not entered play yet, Arachnos loses a Nemesis token and the ritual is complete. So when the ritual is complete, resolve the following. Remove the Nemesis deck. All minions and powers from the game. Do not finish resolving any Nemesis cards that were being resolved when the ritual was completed. Skip the Nemesis draw phase for the rest of the game. Find the World Devourer card that has a tier number equal to the number of Nemesis tokens Arachnos has and place it into play. And flip over the ritual track. So a lot of things going on when the ritual is complete. So while the World Devourer is in play, Arachnos cannot be dealt damage. And the players win when World Devourer is discarded. When the player is exhausted while the World Devourer is in play, it gains 10 life instead of unleashing twice. So 2A cards. We've got our level 1s, 2s, 3s of the upgraded basic cards. Our World Devourer cards from 0 to 9+, which I think goes next to this mat. Then we have our 3 of each of the Arachnos cards. So we've got to set up our Nemesis deck according to page 10 in the rulebook. See, the Nemesis deck has 3 tiers, identified by 1, 2, 3, which is normal. Locate the 9 Nemesis specific cards used for this game. Separate them into 3 piles. We've got our 1s, 2s, and 3s. Use a chart below to add basic Nemesis cards to each pile. Throughout your first expedition, you will be given upgraded basic Nemesis cards. Be sure to include all the upgraded basic Nemesis cards you have before you add standard basic Nemesis cards. In solo, never add more than 1 tier 1 or more than 3 tier 2. At the end of your first expedition, you will be given different instructions. So we're playing 1. We're going to have 1 tier 1, 3 tier 2s, and 7 tier 3s. And first they come from the new cards. So there's only 1 tier 1, so no randomizing there. Tier 2s, we've got 3. We're getting all 3. And then for tier 3, we need 7. So we've got our 3 upgraded, and we'll need 4 from our basic cards. So from our previous fight, we have all our tier 1 basics, which won't be used anymore for us. Our tier 2s, which looks like won't be used. And then tier 3s, we'll give that a shuffle. And we're getting 4 more of these cards in there. Then each layer will be randomized separately. To build our new Nemesis deck. So these are our tier 3s, which definitely is not going to go well for us. Then we'll take our tier 2s. Give them a shuffle, put them on top of our 3s, and then our tier 1s. Will go on top. So now we have our Nemesis deck completed. And now we get to finish our supply. We want to take out anything that we have in our barracks. So we had another gem. Gaining 2, any ally may discard a resonant pearl in hand and draw a card. If they do, gain an additional money. I think that's going to be difficult for us as we're playing solo, so we won't add that. Got a relic with a cost of 3. Destroy the top card of any player's discard pile, or destroy this to gain 2 life. I like thinning our deck of our beginner cards. So we will go ahead and replace this, which would focus our breach or cast any player's prep spell. I'm good with that. Then we have a Well of Energy. Gravehold gains 2 life, or any player gains 2 life. Let's see. I think this is a good card, but spending 4, it's going to take a while to make that worth our while. We'll go ahead and remove that. And put the Well of Energy in, just in case we ever have that much extra money. Then we have a Spirit left. While prepped, once during your turn, when you gain a charge, any ally gains 2 charges. So basically we can buy 1 charge to end up getting 3, and it deals 5 damage. And this one, returning our starter cards back to our hand. Yeah, I think we'll replace that one also. So we are now set up for battle. Gravehold in at 30 health, and we're ready to go. We will go first. So prepping our Gift of Spirit, and with 4 money, we're jumping into a recurring Jasper, gaining 2 ether. If the top card of your discard pile is a spell, you may place this gem on top of your deck. Discarding our crystals, then drawing 5, which we know what we're seeing, our new treasured spell, and 4 crystals. Next turn goes to us again. We are going to cast our spell. So any ally draws a card. Our deck is empty. We will draw into our recurring Jasper. And just to go over player turn order real quick, we have our casting phase first, then our main phase, which we do the rest of our items. Then drawing, place all gems and relics that you have played this turn on top of a pile, and then draw back up to 5 cards. We are going to prep our torch here. Then we have 6 money. And I think I'll use that to get some Energized Rubidium. Gaining through, any ally may discard a card in hand. If they do, that player gains a charge. We had all these banked. Drawing 5. Next turn is us again. We're going to cast this to focus a breach. We'll go with our level 3. Prep a spell. Bank 4 money. We'll go ahead and get another spell now. The Force Amplifier, dealing 3 damage. If it was cast from an open 3 or 4 breach, deal 1 additional damage. So our next turn is all about getting some money in play. Soon, yep, the Nemesis is finally going to go. We're going to unleash twice, and then Gravehold suffers 1 damage. So when we're unleashing, this is going to move up the track. Gravehold goes down to 29. So we just had a wreck. And Nemesis goes again. All right, a Breach Stabilizer. To discard, we need to spend 5 money. 2 powers going on this. Unleash. Then Arachnos gains a Nemesis token. So 2 power on that. And then it should be our turn. We are going to draw a card into a crystal. We're then going to gain 2 money to our bank. Top card of your discard pile is a spell, which it is. May place this gem on top of your deck. Then, in addition to that too, we're going to go up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 money banked. We're going to spend 5 of that to deal with the stabilizer. We have 4 left over. I'm going to go ahead and spend to open our level 2 breach. Discard a so. Drawing 5. Time to start another round. So shuffling our turn order deck. And the Nemesis is going to go first. So we've got the Chanters, 4 health. Its effect is Arachnos gains 1 Nemesis token. So we want to deal with him quickly, but I haven't been going hard on spells. So that's going to have to change. Next will be us. We are going to bank 4 ether here. Spending 3 there, letting the other go to waste. Prep 2 spells. Draw 2 here, then 3 more. So next turn, not spell heavy either. Nemesis is going to go. So he gains a Nemesis token. Then he gains a Nemesis token or unleashes. Any player suffers 3 damage. I think we'll go with the bottom part. So we unleash and take 3 damage. So we're down to 7 health. So that was, Nemesis is done. So we've got some free turns coming up. So our turn, we're going to deal 3 damage. Actually, I'll do this one first. We're going to focus a breach. Then deal 3 damage. We're going to prep a spell. Bank 3 money. Actually, we're going to bank 5 money. An ally may discard a card in hand. If they do, that player gains a charge. We'll discard a card in hand. Getting a charge, so we've got 5 money to play with. We're going to go for an imbued spash, deal 4 damage. You may discard a card in hand. If you do, deal 2 damage to the Nemesis. And effects of modified damage affect both instances of damage. Then we'll put those in the discard pile, drawing 5 more. So we've got another money hand coming up. Go ahead and cast that to deal 1 damage to get rid of that. Recurring Jasper, top card's a spell. We gain 2 money. This goes on top. 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll spend 3 to knock this back some. Spend 3 to get a caged fire. Drawing 2 and 3 more. Our next round coming up. Prep 2 spells. Bank 4 money. Which I think we'll get another force amplifier. And final turn will be us again. We're going to focus a breach. Deal 3 damage. Finally getting our first damage on our Nemesis. We are going to go ahead and bank 5 money. Discard a card to gain a charge. We'll discard our Gift of Spirit. So we have 5 money. We'll use 3 to open this breach. So that's going to give us +1 damage on cast. And the remaining 2 to get us a charge. Then we'll prep our spell. Drawing 5 cards. So shuffling for our next round. I think we've got our mage set up. Just hoping the Nemesis isn't now set up. We're going first. So dealing 4 damage, we may discard a card in hand. If you do, deal 2 damage to the Nemesis. Both of those are increased by 1. We are going to discard a card. So 5 and then 3 damage, so a total of 8, down to 59. Then we'll play the Relic, destroy the top card of any player's discard pile, getting rid of that crystal. Then we'll bank 3 money, using 2 to get us a charge. Then we're going to activate our ability. Focus any player's breach. Any player gains 1 life for each open breach you have, so we're going to gain 3, back to our original 10. And then discard, or put these in our discard pile, and then draw 5. Next turn will be us. Putting out a force amplifier in our 3 breach, and our torch. For money, I think we'll go ahead and take that back a step. For next round, which is us. So we deal 3 damage. If this was cast from an open 3 or 4 breach, we're dealing 1 additional damage, and it's +1 damage on cast, so this deals 5 damage. Down to 54. We're going to focus a breach. We'll then bank 4 money. Now I may discard a card in hand. If they do, gain a charge. At 4 money, we're going to go ahead and open this. So when we cast from here, Gravehold gets a life. And then prepping 2 spells. Next hand. Us again. That means Nemesis has 2 turns coming up with nothing we can do. So we will cast this so we can draw a card. Getting a recurring Jasper, and Gravehold is going to heal. Then we will cast this with +1 damage times 2, so 5 more damage, down to 49. Prep a spell. Play this, giving us 2 money. Top card's a spell, so we can put this back on top. So we have a total of 5 money banked, which is going to get us an imbued smash. End of turn. Those go there. This is still in our hand, so we'll draw 4 cards. And the Nemesis is going to get 2 turns in a row. First thing, it's going to separate. It's going to unleash twice. Gravehold suffers 2 damage, so down to 28. And the player with the most expensive prep spell discards that spell. Not cool. Then it's going to go again. So now in Power Ritual, we need to spend 7 money. Ragnos gains 1 Nemesis token, and Gravehold suffers 4 damage. So 3 power. And we shuffle for another round. Doing the best I can to get this shuffled. So we go first. That was going to be huge for us because that was going to allow us to get a crystal out there and destroy it. So much for our well-played plans. Anyway, we'll prep that. We're going to bank 4 money. This goes back on top. We'll go ahead and buy some recurring Jasper for that 4, since that's probably going to be a theme. And we're stuck with this in hand again, so that's the problems with relics. Next turn's the Nemesis. Take a token off. Now we need to spend 8. Unleash twice. Any player suffers 4 damage. Next turn will be us. Dealing 5 damage. Down to 44. Prepping a spell. Since we have a spell on top, we can put that on top of our deck. So that's going to give us 2 money. 5 and 6. We may discard a card in hand. If we do, gain a charge. That's one way of getting rid of it. But we're just at 6 money, which is 1 short of where we want to be. I think we'll spend 3 to knock this down. And 2 for a charge, because I see a lot of pain hitting our way. So 3 cards here. And 2. Next turn's the Nemesis. Gravehold suffers 5 damage, or Arachnos gains 2 Nemesis tokens. Sorry, Gravehold. All right. So we will be dealing 2 damage, down to 42. Prepping some spells. Going to end up with a total of 3. We put this back on top of our deck. We'll try out some tethered darts. So cast, deal 2 damage. If this was cast from an open 3 or 4 breach, you may place this into any ally's hand. And then for our next round, we will start with this. So doing a total of 5 plus 3, so 8 damage. We will be discarding a card for that. Down to 34. Then we're going to deal 4 damage from this, since it was cast from a level 4 breach, down to 30. And that heals Gravehold 1. And I think I'm going to go ahead and have us draw a card into a recurring Jasper. Prep a spell. We have a spell on top, so we're banking 4. They can go on top of our deck. 5, 6. Still 1 short. We'll go with another Imbued Smash. So cards for our next round. Still not enough money. So shuffling for the next round order. And first turn, still feeling like, there we go. Nemesis. All right, so I was feeling wrong. Arachnos gains 1 Nemesis token, so it's up to 2. Gravehold suffers 4 damage. Down to 20. Unleash twice. Any player suffers 4 damage. Then we draw a card. So we've got a Flame Acolyte, 8 health. If Arachnos has 3 or less Nemesis tokens, Arachnos gains 1 Nemesis token. Otherwise, any player suffers 3 damage. Probably going to need to deal with that. So 8 health on that minion. Next turn is us. Dealing 5 damage. Discarding a card for another 3 on our Nemesis. Prep a spell. We have 5 money to bank. We'll spend 3 up here. 1 in a charge. And then we'll use our ability. Focus a breach. We're done there, but we can gain 4 life. So back to 10 health. So we're getting 3 cards this way. And 2 from that direction. Next turn is us. 5 damage. Some overkill, but it's dead. Prep some spells. We are going to use this to gain 3. Any ally may discard a card in hand. If they do, we gain a charge. Then we can play this to destroy the top card of a player's discard pile. Ending our turn. So next turn should deal some damage. For us, I'm going to cast deal a damage and heal Gravehold 1. 26. 21. We'll deal 3 damage with that. Down to 23. And we may put this into any ally's hand, and we're our own ally in solo mode. I'm going to prep some spells. We've got 2 money left, which is great for charges. And next turn is going to deal some damage. And it is us. We will start with this. It's going to end up doing 8 damage. Down to 15. Then this will deal 4. And heal Gravehold 1. Then this will deal 2 damage. Down to 9. Then we'll go ahead and use this to draw a card. Getting some recurring Jasper. So we'll bank 4 money. This can go back on top of our deck. We'll spend 3 there, and then prep 2 spells. So drawing 3. And 2. Then the Nemesis gets a turn to retaliate. So Sky Trimmer, spending 7 money to get rid of this. It's going to unleash twice, and Gravehold suffers 4 damage. And we shuffle for another round. Things have been going our way so far. This card might be a little overpowered, but it's in the game, so I'm using it. So first turn goes to the Nemesis, of course. So it's going to unleash twice. And Gravehold suffers 4 damage. Down to 18. And then Power 2, Gnashing Maul. Nothing we can do to get rid of this. It's going to unleash. The player with the most expensive prep spell destroys it. If that spell costs 4 or less, unleash, and any player suffers 3 damage. Next turn is us, though. So we're going to cast this along with discarding that to, unfortunately, well, let's see, do we want to discard then? Might as well just keep our cards. So this is just going to deal 5 damage, taking it down to 4. Then this is going to deal 4 damage plus heal 1. So we've defeated Arachnos. So if we would win the game and the World Devourer has not entered play yet, Arachnos loses a Nemesis token and the ritual is complete. So we'll get rid of that. The ritual is complete. Resolve the following. Remove the Nemesis deck, all minions and powers from the game. So that power is not going to happen. Next, do not finish resolving any Nemesis cards that were being resolved. Skip the Nemesis draw phase for the rest of the game. Find the World Devourer card that has a tier number equal to the number of Nemesis tokens Arachnos has and place it into play. And flip over the ritual track. So it's got 1 Nemesis token. Alright, so set his life equal to the current life of Arachnos, which is 0 plus 10. So he's got 10 health. He counts as a minion and a Nemesis. The start of each Nemesis turn, Gravehold suffers 3 damage, and any player suffers 3 damage. So Arachnos is here, but not feeling well. So that happened in the middle of my turn. So now we're going to finish up. We can bank a total of 8 money. This is a May. We're not putting money back on top of our deck, and we're not going to do that. So I'm spending 8 money. Not that I'll see it, but I can at least say I've bought a Spirit Lift. Ending our turn. Next round goes to us. We'll be dealing 5 damage from this. Prep some spells. We'll spend 2 money for a charge, and then go ahead and play this to destroy our Force Amplifier, just to get it out of our hand. Next turn is the Nemesis. So Gravehold suffers 3 damage, down to 16. And we'll suffer 3 damage, down to 7. And then next turn, do an imbued smash for 5 damage. And that will end our fight against the World Devourer and Arachnos. So back to our expeditions card. So we won the fight. We'll go to card 6, Battle 2 Conclusion. As silence falls over the battlefield, you inspect your adversary, Arachnos. His ambition to become more powerful than the Nameless made him the enemy of the very people he was trying to protect, just like Zaxos. Pains you to see promising mages lost to the temptation of breach magic. Rhea rushes towards a still swirling breach and grabs Soskull, pulling him free. After concentrating briefly, you force the portal closed behind him. Rhea gently frees him from his restraints as his limp body sinks to the ground. He looks drained, but alive. Saskul's chest rises and falls with shaky breath. Tears brim in his eyes as he rubs at his wrist. Brahma was wrong. I'm a failure as a leader. Arachnos captured me, and I could do nothing but watch my friends fall one by one. As he calms down, you notice that you can't see his pupils. When you mention it, Saskul touches his face gently. It must be the void energy starting to warp me. This kind of power is more than any human should bear, even the amount inside of me. Saskul grips his arms and shudders. It's almost too much. So Saskul tries to gather himself as he leads you to his companions who fell in battle. He leans heavily against Rhea with tears streaming down his face as they prepare the ritual for the fallen of Gravehold. If Desmodia were still here, she could have stopped all this. She would have stopped him long ago, he curses. Nearby, you see what must have been one of the Arachnos' experiments. A strange object is outlined with glowing runes. You immediately recoil from the nameless energy you can feel radiating out of it. So our conclusion, we should take it. Saskul walks past you and grabs the artifact. Undeterred by its dark aura, his strength returned faster than you thought was possible. When I was captured, I saw Talix escaping further north. He's still alive. We need to find him. This nameless energy in me, it's powerful, and I'm not going to ignore power when one of my team is in danger. He pauses, growing more serious. I promised his son I'd bring him home. So we're going to open deck 2B, add it to our cards in our barracks. Open envelope 2B and add Saskul to our barracks. And then we'll read the front of 8 when we're ready to start the next battle. So deck 2B. So we've got some treasure level 2 items here. So at the start of the game, set this next to a relic or spell supply pile. When a player gains a card from that supply pile, that player focuses one of their breaches or imbued shackles. Start of the game, set this next to a pile that costs 7 or more. These cards cost players 1 less to gain. Shimmering Cloak of the Magus. After a player finishes resolving their ability, that player deals 2 damage. And Bones of Deathmind, when a player opens a breach, that player gains a charge. Start of any player's turn, if that player has no closed breaches, that player gains a charge. And a Lucky Coin, so gain an ether. You may lose a charge. If you do, gain 2 additional ether. Then we've got cards for our new mage coming out. Spark, Pain Conduit. Attached to any player's breach. When a spell is cast from this breach, it deals 2 additional damage and discard this card. It's pretty nice. Fatal Harmony. Deal 4 damage. Any ally may discard a Fatal Harmony in hand and draw a card. If they do, deal 3 damage. Next, we've got a Bouncing Boom. So it's got Echo on it. Deals 2 damage. So with Echo, when you cast a spell with Echo, resolve that cast effect twice. Any additional effects granted for casting this spell are added to both resolutions of the spell. So some pretty neat stuff. We have the possibility of adding to our next fight. And in envelope 2B, we have Saskul. So he's got the Lucky Coin. His ability, Energized Sigil. Place an energized token on any player's breach that doesn't have one, or discard an energized token on any player's breach. That player gains 4 life. And he's got his energized tokens. So I hope to see you with fight number 3. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.